That's why they put yes. So now you don't need a position of policy. It's in the data. Students are not trying to take it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Again, I think we can. Thank you. You should do something for all of it. It's a video. How are you? Like using this influence. Yeah, I think I got it multiple.
Good morning. On behalf of KRVIA postgraduate program, I would like to welcome all our panelists, graduate participants, students, colleagues, and guests. It is my pleasure to introduce this year's Urban Dialogue PC Symposium 2025. Cities evolve through dynamic interactions between cultures, communities, and their environments. Urban design and conservation foster social cohesion, stability, and sustainable communities by sharing shared spaces. Active community participation in urban health and regeneration instils ownership, collaboration, and better management. These dialogues connect low barriers to full narratives. Today, KRVI's dialogue is an event in our calendar, and the main aim is to engage in dialogue with professionals, students, fresh graduates to offer new perspectives in relation to the ongoing discourse on future of our city. The instance in 2019 has used the postgraduate in urban design and architectural and observation, the starting point of engagement between people and the city. On behalf of the postgraduate program at KRVIA, I give a warm welcome to panelists, Dr. Manoj, Kini, Aishwarya, and Akhtar Chauhan. Let me now invite Professor Manoj, Director of KRVIA, to the desk.
Thanks, and good morning, everyone. Special thanks to all the who have agreed to come. Dr. Manoj, I think visiting here for the first time. Welcome. Aishwarya is an academic still member of the conservation architect. After been part of area is so it was there at PhD college. We had in several patients. So, welcome, Dr. Chauhan. We have Paul, director, the one really initiated this graduate program and is telling on. So, urban dialogue, dialogue. What's the reason that he, this was necessary? Especially like in urban. Either can afford to build itself, but urban can need the kind of our program kind of it's like almost like all the disciplines are merged. We are finding a platform where those interact. Similarly, if that several other disciplines also interact and knowledge. So our basic of building a culture of knowledge will be easy there. With that intention, we get this at 2015. We continue to build on it. And this is not only this basic discussion. This is also trying to kind of find and validate research that students have carried out in the semester. This is not just limited to KRVIA. This is extended to all the institutes in Moscow. And we are also kind of with the discipline very graduate first time in that discipline. So can really robust debate plan, discussion plan, and if possible way in which urban discussion can happen, urban regions can happen in several directions. So our intentions are to build the bridge, extend out, uh, and expand the urban discourse for years.
To invite A. Lewis, Dean of the Graduate.
Thanks, Anaya. So, as Manoj right said, it's a dialogue between students, academicians, and faculty at the school. And it's also to look at the instruments for implementation of it's where we are so consumed the idea of a submission of project and producing a necessary drawing, but and we build the ideas of implementation, whether it's oriented or stakeholder participation, what are the ways in which we participate, and finally the design. Okay, and it's this is a very interesting platform where we've made three professionals from varying backgrounds. They curate the submissions which we have gotten. So there's a little bit of focus on that. I hope that all of you participate in this dialogue. So there comes an interesting discussion for us to take some points. So, yeah, thanks and over again.
Today's pieces are divided into three themes. 9 pieces from Kabla and the PDP unit. The first theme is sustainable urban trust. The second is heritage and cultural infrastructure. And third is inclusive urbanization. Each of the teachers will begin with a presentation of the best which will be followed by the presentation. I would request the participants to stick to their 10 minutes. After 2 sessions, we will have a short break, then continue our third session. At the end of all the sessions, we have a brief discussion for everybody to chime in their views and hopefully finish dot action. So we begin with our session.
Good morning, everyone. Now to begin with the first session of Sustainable Urban Church, I would like to introduce Dr. Kini. Professor Dr. Manoj Kini, an alumnus of Simplicity and the School of Planning Architecture, who is the Managing Director of KRVIA and he was the Heritage Group under the Kerala Department. He also serves as a principal Kerala State Institute of Design, Fulham. Kini was previously in charge of urban design, city, design, the change, and she holds in the design agency of Kalam, technological industry. It's also a current committee He assists the Kerala government and local bodies on community-based design tests. He is the founding secretary of the IIA Kolkata, a state executive committee member for sustainable architecture and national secretary of the Institute of Urban Designers in India. Dr. Kini leads a post-2018 retailing design efforts under the CRKF Kerala program. His research focuses on design education, human architecture, technology studies, and disaster risk. I'd like to invite him for the
Is it here?
Well, we want to all of you and for the invitation. As the professor said, I'm coming here for the first time. So I know of you here in the institution for the time. I have been through this road, I've seen this institution, not inside. Okay. So in fact, want me why? Because time is religious. It's not a structured presentation, but as I was informed, this is basically venue where we are trying to open up dialogues. And as an academic, I have been through several, here dentures as a student, as a teacher, as a professional, as an administrator, where my is on design and how things happen as this is concerned. So translating to design is not very easy. It's quite tough, right? But I should say it's an interesting. I'm coming a very non-architecture. My father was a teacher in literature. My mother was working in a bank. So my family doesn't have anything to do with architecture. Mostly that is the same case with many. Some of them need to have, their parents in the field of, design or maybe in build. And I should say that real luck because it's really for them. But it's not. Yeah, it was not like. So me, when I did architecture, though I was passionate about doing it, I understood, it's not easy for to establish. Because, I mean, you real godfathers. And it's very difficult to godfathers like that. So the struggle is when you understand as part of your, especially when your thesis, when you both and, interaction with the people, when you're training. That's it, you understand that how tough it is to manage an office, to start a practice, to establish. It's a real stuff, but it's enjoyable. So now the next thing is once you graduate, you start practicing. And obviously, I was in dark scale because my teacher who influenced me in my final studio, he was a person who do they had larger scale projects and understand how the urban project that we did in final year. That's when I started understanding what urban designing. Maybe I started going deep into the urban design process. Then I took my post-graduation in urban design from Delhi. Then that was a great, opportunity for me to learn more about. I had wonderful teachers, and we started working on other projects. But as I told you, it's not easy how to change this. So, as you know, the design basically it's public demand. Public demand means the project. Can you hear without this mic? It's stream, so you have to stream. Okay, so urban design basically it comes out of demand from the public, and mostly we are represented by elected officials as project. That's how it comes. So And it's not very easy to do something in an experience. India is a university. Anybody can. It's not very easy. Once you take up a project and present it in front of, there will be some 50% for you, 50% again. So this again is not that easy to go ahead with the kind of pressure that you get. And there will be multiple stakeholders, and everybody will have their own what you call ideas, their own demands, and their own vested interests. It's very, very important, especially when you deal in big space. And you have got financial constraints too from the government or maybe from wherever. So you know that we are learning about design. Nowhere we see about all these things. That's our major problem. We don't see about the public demand, how the public function. We have any kind of exposure or experience. Maybe as you go and interact with in one or two projects that you do that you don't know public is, and democracy is free. Not easy to deal with a situation. So these are basic things that you are coming across once out of. So the idea is to have wonderful projects that you do in the 5-year studio in the program, you come up with the colors, get accolades, and you go to the public with this project, pretends. So it's kind of a excellent for any of us once you big career. You put in a lot of energy, you put in a lot of time, and you go through this whole process and come out. You understand that you will know. It's a very serious situation. I have gone through that. So I'm going to speak about those things. I'm not going to speak about my project because all these things would have been discussed. I'm going to speak about such technical aspects here. I'm going to speak about my experience, how I have gone through. As I told you, as a student, I started next. So, okay. Personally, I'm in KTIL, Kerala Tourism Infrastructure Limited. Never in my career I thought that I'll go and work here. And I never knew that the such institution exists. It's not a government of Kerala, but of tourism. And I never knew that as an artisan I will be able to sit and work there. But this happens. So my first point to make is, if you are passionate about doing, if really involved, opportunities open. I'll tell you, my whole life is that. I have never planned anything in life. I never wanted to be this, I never wanted that. But I always wanted to be what I'm doing. And I used to enjoy it. Even today, when I'm standing in front of you, I'm enjoying this process. I'm enjoying the interaction. I'm enjoying the way it has been conducted. I'm just trying to kind of, get the spirit of this particular work here. So, when I started deciding about my career, I asked my professor, KTL was my professor, and I asked him had several opportunities. So I thought I'll stay back in Delhi. So I asked Professor, what should I do? What's my option? So he asked me, just one thing. If you want to be, this is the word here. I don't know whether it is allowed or not, but what he told me, you want to be a small in a big pond or the fish in a small pond. That was the kind of answer he gave me. And I didn't want to be a fish in a big pond. So I decided to go back here. Maybe possibly my parents were there. I do have a sister. She was doing the final year and wanted to support her. So I decided to go back to Kerala. So I started in Bangalore. So this will run badly. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to speak about that. So what happens once I decided to come to Kerala, and second choice was, as I told you, I had projects, small projects started with, but it was not for me to sustain. So sustain was a mental, and I was very passionate about teaching. So I decided that I will take academics and I, bread and butter. So I decided to join the academic institution. I started my class as a lecturer at the Kerala University. I started doing post parallel practice also. So what happens during that? I can be a teacher, like be teaching and getting that. But this pattern of design, what happens is that it makes you do certain things. You know, I started involving public project and get kind of the rights to do that. We had this other subject and act which went in our India. But I think almost if I state to take it up. So we had this grants in every local level. They invited professional students. Anybody can go there and have a voice. So I started involving these things because that's the only way I understood that if the people want to listen, you have to go to a place where you are listening. So being in an institute teaching will not take there. So you get involved in such activities. So go these things. So funny thing was when I started going there, I understood that not even a single professional comes. So it is open to anyone. All those people who are interested, maybe politicians or locals who are interested in these things are there. Not even a single professional is involved in type of processes, which India do have. My first thing was to go there. You know what happens? There is a space there. These guys are sitting there, they're not aware of any of technical things. Once you go and speak to them, you present what you have done, you authentically make them aware that this is what is they're suspecting you. That's a great lesson for me. So once you get to that process, get in touch with them. Those are the guys who are going to support us. These local, you call politicians or maybe local authorities. To keep a distance at the same time, you start involve them with petty issues like, for example, some nala is dysfunctional or cleaning up something or cleaning up a market. These will be the projects, and you may not be getting much from that. You are establishing your say public matters. It's a lot of confidence. Something which I learned. So that was kind of a parallel thing which happened along with ethics. So what goes after that? The project I thought when I was doing I could translate that project into a life project, now central government fund. After 25 years, you have the patience. So I'm focused on two projects here. Those two projects are one of those projects were a thesis project. So that master thesis project which I had in my mind 25 years back now happening with the central government of 150. It is a project cost is 700, 800 crores. The first installment is 150 crores. So this is how it happens. So the story is about that. So KTA, what happens from my academics? Flood happened. When the flood happened, Kerala lost more than 2,000 houses in the southern district. So the government wanted to construct these houses back to place within 6 months, but with a minimal budget of 6 lakhs. That was a challenge. We had all the solutions, like for example, in Kerala we do have this housing urban development cooperative society. We have got HAT, we have Postport, we have got all sorts of NGOs who are sitting there who are in this industry, and we have PWD, everybody was. It was a big kind of a meet, and we were also called as academic participants. So what happened was, they asked how to go about this project. So everybody is there within this 6 months time with the very tight plot in different terrains with slack, what you call estate. You can't build. It's very difficult to build. In a government project, you spend 10 lakhs, hardly 6 lakhs goes to the project. 4 lakhs goes somewhere else. That's how it is. So, primary challenge was make the 6 lakhs to the site. So everybody was asked, like, you come up with ideas. We do have a very cooperative system. We do have this, we call this cooperative studies in every panchayat. And they run cooperative banks also. And these cooperative banks anybody can be a member. So every local cooperative bank will have lawyers, masons, carpenters, government officials. Everybody will be a part of the particular local bank. And they deposit this small money. You know how a cooperative bank works. So I suggested one thing. We use this cooperative mechanism to this housing. It was first time they thought how cooperative can assist buildings. So ask me how. So the idea was simple: to charge the money to the beneficiary through this cooperative bank, and then to provide the input and technical from the exercise. That was the concept. So we have got lots of engineers, we have got lots of engineering students. So when they converge the whole, like academics and this cooperative system together, and the blend, and you know what happened? Blended beneficiary means a person who lost the house was treated as the person who we have to give the money to, and it was monitored by a committee. It was audited by the bank auditor. Everything was systemized, and the money was directly given to them. And this process happened wonderfully, and we could complete these 2,000 houses within the span of 6 months, 6 lakhs. That was the achievement. My point is that that's how ideas can take shape. It is not one single person working with it. It's a collective effort, integrated effort of so many people together and working together. So that was a great lesson, including me. So there, I mean, I slowly shift myself to head the design institution where we was the COVID time. That was the time when I really understood that till then I was only into architecture or urban design. Then I understand that I understand we have other options too as part of design, textile design, and design, product design. And that's the time where we integrated all these people together. Very genuine, highly integrated people in the design industry make wonders. So we design mass people. We design temporary shelters for people, for COVID patients, isolation units. Like that, I understood that design do have that possibility. Why am I linking here this basically because that's where, as a designer, you will find your credibility for the public. Then an urban designer nobody will count you. When you touch their lives, about small things, giving them mask, giving them isolation units, that means they care you. Once that feels in, that's how you build a confidence within the public. So tomorrow when you go and say that we can have this like this, we can have this infrastructure, this they with you because they know that you have a previous history that has helped. So that's building up confidence. Very easy. It's kind of a hard work and what you call intelligent putting. So something that happened after that. Then later, as I do, I was appointed the director of tourism infrastructure. Yeah, tourism infrastructure basically, we're working on the tourism. Here, we provide policy insights, policies for the government. We create new products, create a master plan. So what happened was during this process, I was able, or he was able to convince the government that something called urban design is. Nobody knew. It's very difficult to make people understand what urban design is. Many times it gets confused with urban plan and architecture. But urban planning is urban planning, architecture is architecture. There is which comes in between, which basically bridges. And that bridge, that particular thing is more urban design, which I was able to, especially national conference that happened in Kollam, where we could bring all these people together. And with the design initiative, including the chief minister's support. I understood the issue of what urban design is. It's a long flow. I'm just, putting it in words. So, what's happening that urban design as a profession was being recognized. They're calling for designers in any of the state government projects in Kerala. We have recruited urban designers. First time happening in Kerala. Now urban design is being considered a profession, and they know what urban design can do in LSGD, in other departments also. They have started recruiting urban designers for their projects. They understood what it is. Now they are going to empanel urban designers in the government service for works. So this is my first project. I will now wrap it up. I'm just going project. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. So this story. This was my project that I was mentioning. That's a class 1. So this is a biodiversity project which we are doing under KTIL. We do have this huge cross section of Kerala where this starts from the Western Ghats to the LAT. You can see it is tracing the river. And this lake you see here, it's a backwater. Basically, it's the second largest delta reach of Sundarbans. It's all like around 156 kilometers spread around. So we do have wonderful things here, which becomes a part of this project themes in the biodiversity circuit. One, it's the endpoint city, and it's having mixed components like, and it's also a historic thing, reinventing the capital of the MENA region. And I'm just going through this. I'm not going to do the whole thing. So these are the different type of projects that we are doing as part of this. We also try to, have money from investors through type of invest meet. The other projects, this largest innovation projects happening in again spread across to all of this. This is called Musalis. Musalis project, which is a spice root project. I know that Kerala was the gate to India during the past 1,000 years back, where the entire European came through Kerala. So the first church, the first synagogue, everything is in this place. So I'm also the director of this Musalis project. It's an ancient port excavation happening there. This is the first stage of the 155 kilometer districts. And this is the most river ports, I believe to be. So we all, what do you call situation is happening there, and about this several artists from there. And the project is called as academic revitalization, infrastructure development, conservation, excavation, exploration. There are several objectives: documentation, development, cross-made, Arctic conservation, transport facilities. So integrated. What I told you, it's not done by one person. We have conservation architects, we have structural experts, we do have economic experts, we do have people from different segments who are working together here. Lots of departments are being integrated. And project area to museums, roads, boats, pathways, toilet blocks. We have all these things. Total 150 projects. So we are considering all those things. We have got several projects completed now. And these are the several things that is happening as of this. And some of these worn out buildings that we are transferring into, park buildings. We are revamping the old architecture, reinstating the old architecture. So we do have projects like this completed. So after this, I told you, setting up the public, initiative. Have done a lot of MOUs with some education institutions, organizations. Yeah, yes. So this is the work that we. So need to say is, as we understand, understand is just not confined to resource and academics. You come out of it. You have to public, and you have to make them part of the process and your prediction for its own. So being public is most important thing, not being public. With that, I'm thank you.
I like to mention all the thesis traditional exhibited. So my given have participant creation and applied Rashida as of KRVIA. Present thesis on urban buildings in coastal cities. Among people equity. The case of Panchi. Urban residents, the coastal cities, urban farm people and technology. Identified thesis under Professor Manoj. So, thesis starts with how affordable coastal cities in general exhibit a great diversity in their environment, urban form, connectivity, and socio-economic activity. Owing to their geographical features, these areas are particularly vulnerable to change and environmental challenges, with the rise, flooding, and weather conditions. In addition to that, rapid urbanization, intensification of urban use, and growing pressures on these will go to the environment. However, it's a very difficult understanding of the connection between urban form and these ecosystems. Site a large concentration accomplished on urban areas. The short resilience of informed is still very stark. And this is to take a step towards filling gap, addressing language. Mounting cities through resilience to teaching and aggression. Again, to improve dependency, consistency, enabling vulnerability, strengthen the overall effect, offering and sensitive assessment training and information status. So, the work was understanding, identify coastal vulnerabilities and through lecture reviews secondary day. Lining specific awareness strategy, theoretical and evaluative work. Shutting and Yamaha resilient apart and then critical see the delivery of the factors which are informed people and logic. The study employs a system approach to monitor equidynamic relations between variables through rigid units analysis, which were identity, redundancy, quality, efficiency, and stability. They were derived from the master planning for change, designing the recipe by Aishwarya and Aishwarya. Book states that they urban form change and over at the pace and the advisor framework and adapt over fashion and technologies. Because there is a gradual process that is developed over to study the interdependencies between the factors and evaluate inputs was developed and define the parameters and indicators of evaluation through a cumulative rate, being the determinant of the degree of presence. Outcome was studied through base, morphology, and language, feature stakeholder, social and economic activity, and ecology through green to infrastructure. Comparative case study done from the South Asian coastal cities of Tanjung and Kochi in India and Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Due to the similar context, the city is studied based on geographical context, change, coastal connectivity, land use, socio-economic diversification, and diversity. Despite the evaluative framework being checked, the findings and recommendations in the tend to be text-specific. Hence, as a result, Panji will select the final site for case study. Based on the possibilities of evolution, the city's limited public transportation, land use patterns, insufficient urban development, and over-dependency on tourism, and in addition to the presence of unique natural systems. The next was site filling. The final delineate type is a combination over of one no elevation in coastal area. That is, low coastal zones with elevation below 10 meters above NS. And pretty characterized by the 2100 interesting factors. Mixed use land use and food, the and conservation zone that this includes Akhtar, which is a music city. Then it also Farmers in Mala, the leading villagers, where Madhu, the city, the village and country, and analysis is the long studies of social and systems of these areas. Aided and evaluative creating of these areas based on the well established for understanding these of business. Further, strength and vulnerability values and data issues character. So the cumulative creating an average of resilience to irrigation side will dedicate an economic activity having the lowest rates. Major tech industry identify with environmental challenges such as sea level and flooding in the lower elevation coastal, which is further worsened the insufficient drainage system existing in the city. It also faces traffic congestion and public transport inefficiency, and an over-dependence on tourism and gentrification due to the same contributed to further in the over-resilience of the coastal area in emergency. Hence, the scale of intervention was thought of across action scale 1, building in 2, block, 3, street, 4, neighborhood for demonstrating dimensions on a smaller parcel. The plan and strategies have devised for temporal scales of resistance for mid-term recovery, short-term adaptation, long-term for the native site area. And like urban design guidelines and policies for at the city level. The vision was to reinforce countries' assistance against these environmental and economic challenges by strengthening the networks for urban needs at 3 ages. One, an resistance, which was getting before the disruption. Recovery, it is immediately after the disruption and adaptation, which is the gradual development over time. The next identified to be strengthened from the right framework for the utility network, transport network, social economic network, the community networks. Even conditions were thought of in phases of short-term, medium-term, and long-term transformations. The envisioned urban selected and long-term local areas that preserving viability and development. The site strategies include connecting to the fact, configuring blocks, the district exercise, reviving the heritage identity, and developing the CBT under networks. Rerouting track, regular tracking, connecting the streets to some along network. Establish community networks, leading streets, and integrate locally or relevant the social connect. Recent actually and leading and coordinating for the forest recognition unit. And the other than the guidelines and seeds of the goals, the scale, which also has one purpose for today. Foundation, organization, and visiting with
Hello. Yeah. So I decided so other city. So the site was in Akhtar Chauhan. So there are other concerns of the community. First is the urbanization, then environmental context in between urbanism, then loss of agricultural land soil erosion, then loss of land equity, yeah, and pollution.
So, so major geographic data area is most of the relation is past or land. So as we can see Google map, the area on the central area around which there is the most involved major which is very low the area. So there is as a and coastal areas, they have converted total farming into housing and residential. So, for it, I have some areas which measure of the views ownerships, building maps, in which compact the and again the residential zone, which is support land, still agricultural land, most of agricultural development. So mainly they have seen the problem like most of the builders trying to convert land to house or residential areas. So majorly the land is in state form and visual. So they are trying to implement that and convert it into residential zones. So it will further lead in haphazard development in the future. So that I have developed a concept where we can amalgamate the entire land in a converted plot like development with a design one which can sustain as a urban life and the farming life can coexist in the together. So most of majority of the design program was to urban mixed-use development, then street networks, then public spaces, green purpose streets, and other amenities. So this is the structure. So in we have majority is the farming land and the next to the land is for the storage and purpose for the farming use. And rest of the land is for the urban development. So they can go together, coexist with each other. So this is a master plan. It's majority of the 50% land scale as it for the main purpose, and rest of the land is there according to the life and farming, which can be coexisted. So I have developed some program which help together as a some of the programs are grow expo in animal husbandry, then farm to tech restaurants, agricultural spa, farmers markets, agricultural institutes, which can divide this and not go convert it in entire residential hub, but it can convert it in both agricultural and urban development. I invite Manisha Chandra from KRVIA present her thesis on city as diversity. How can urban design be conducted from cognitive development of children?
A very good morning, all the guests, my faculty, and all the dear friends. So, my topic is the city as double. So, I was trying to say that are these really contribute to the cognitive development of children. So, during my jury, I was asked to not bring a personal angle to my thesis topic, but I think because it's in a blog, I would start with what actually started the query. So, I'm myself a mother of a 5-year-old kid, and when I had her childhood, when I compare it to mine, because I'm myself from a very small city, I think that there are a lot of disadvantages that I see. She cannot go on the city like on her own. She can't go to the school on her own. She can't even walk to the bus stand on her own. So it's not that she's incapable of, but our cities are incapable of or of getting her to.
So I think that's where the entire idea of our cities children started. And it's a very wide topic of how many ways the cities are impacting children. I decided to stick to one. I was the cognitive development. Now, why I was more concerned with the cognitive development is because of the fact that 90% of the human development happens in the first 20% of the lifespan. That means within 0 to 18 years, 90% brain development only already takes place. And it's not impacting the childhood, but it impacts all the decisions that child takes throughout his lifespan. So basically, it's not only impacting the 0 to 18 years, but also the time or future of the country in some ways. So I think and that's why I took cognition as my thing. And now, but what exactly happens? So how this cognitive development has happened is from where I started my research, and read a lot of cognitive development theory by various theorists. And there's one which I read, was Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which was given back in 1967. Now, theory said that a child, every knowledge he has or every mission that he stores plays in form of schemas. Schemas are nothing like images of he sees. So whatever decision he takes in his life or how he reacts to his situation is all on the basis of schemas which are there in his brain. Okay, so now schemas are basically all the interaction he's happening, are happening in the city or with his environment. Because but we what we in our environment as is just his house. Okay, so but then that environment is not just house, and that's why I came to that entire idea that this event is physical. It is also physical, it is also social, but this environment is also the physical environment where his neighborhood and he also play a very important role. And, from there, I started understanding that. But then, when Jasmine Suruja was my guide, and then she started me to think, but then there are also advantages to it. How can can you even compare the education your child is getting to what you were getting? I think he's much more knowledgeable than even I am. And she keeps correcting my pronunciation, keeps correcting my facts, and even at that age. So then it was like is this an urban advantage? So then I started comparing what is the rural advantage or the urban advantage. And I came to a conclusion that living in cities with children is not an advantage, but an urban paradox. Okay, because they have to give up a lot of good things to get those advantages of good education, good health, and good sports facilities. It's also not for everybody. So I mean, because I'm a very short time, I cannot get to anything. But I would like to focus on the diagram that you see on the screen. So basically, I was building two theories. One was Piaget's theory for cognitive development, and one was Kyoto's theory, Vallabhbhai's theory, where she says that children experience of a city is dependent on two things. So first is independent mobility, and that is the capacity to move around freely. And the second one, what space design affordances are in the city to offer like experience to him. So first is that he has the capacity to do some place, and that place should have the capacity to offer him the experience. So this how made that entire diagram, and I try to understand that how the brain acts, what play activity can support brain development, and where those activities can happen. And I realized that the biggest, the maximum time of spends or his maximum exposure is on the middle layer of the environment, which is the neighborhood. So basically, that is the circle that encompasses the play at the nearest ground, the street, the stop, or the school or stuff. That walkable is for him, his neighborhood, which has the maximum impact on his development. And so then I had to decide, a focus, a geographic focus for my search. And I started comparing the social infrastructure we have for children in the city, and realized that it's much in the suburbs than in the city. And in city, I based my research on suburbs of Mumbai and to Hanwali, as that's also was for the factors. That's also my state. So they started comparing it for aspects like was to understand the housing countries, the schools, the dedicated spaces, which are parks and playgrounds, and what we have to understand the streets. So I with a lot of it started mapping, trying to see how many types of housing typologies are there. So I'm going to take a lot of field work. I went to schools and interact with children, and also I try to and at what spaces that actually expecting children to play when children are playing they're out. Okay, so with all that idea, all started take that in terms of loss of of children, like what we want to play. So I would not get into detail, but I also started analyzing that how the street patterns are, which space they have for walking, for the NMT, and then even the gardens. For example, I wrote that that you see there at almost every garden play in the artist wall. And I realized every garden was just three kind of model of each other. And Moreland even didn't have a basic amenity like that, a toilet. So even if your child goes to that park, where do they go? Yeah. So there was just so like we may have the base, right? And there is actually the problem somewhere in the body framework. There are a lot of documents from the national level to the local level. And I realized, in fact, there is no document which talks about children at the local level. So that was the I found that in fact there is no department. When we talk about BMC doesn't have any department which is looking at children. So when you don't have any authority which is dedicated to some user group, they are not addressed, and and then I started tweaking the policies, and I realized that if I just make these diagrams, with little bit of changes, how can we bring a change in the way we are designing or we are catering to children? For example, our regulations say that we have to 4.5 meter, cement, margins from walls of the building. Okay, not less than 1 acre, but then happens that that's just for the vehicle. So the kid is sharing that space with vehicle and will feel that it's my vehicle and he's actually coming in disturb the vehicle. This is really vice versa. What would say that one of the boundary has to be more than 6 meters. Okay, and that has to be, there has to be no vehicle movement there. Suddenly, it's just small 1.5 meter that we give to the kid, like margin, and we say no vehicle there, and it changes the character. So I just try to make diagrams again, because of the parking, we have no floors. There is no, the people they don't. There is no passive service. There are no eyes on the street. As Jesus says. So what if have a regulation? Frontage of the building not allowed to have that parking, but they should be livable with some people there with some eyes on that street. So there were like all tweaks which I did in terms of school regulations, in terms of house regulations, a few diagrams. And finally, also interacted with a lot of children. I made them drew. I went to schools, and I also did some case studies. I think I'll be quick. And this was finally my design intervention, where I tried to provide certain pedestrian pathway, and basically was around that the Hisar, the Hisar River. So I wanted me to go close to the nature. So I gave a proposal of how there can be some walkable street which connect all the social infrastructure, schools, and things and everything, so that the kid has access. They also be like the backyards to their residences. How they can finally get them to the edge, river edge, where they can, where we have this entire connection of green space there.
Let's open to panelists for the thesis diagram basic.
If the panelists would like to open up comments.
fact, I found this three talks very relevant and very I just complete this basis is something more part or is it it's
Complete, it's graduate.
yeah, I would say suggestion and speaking about these three and I was forming all this three suggestion happening in many parts. I think what misses we are already focused on the studies and we are ready to see how in the final in this thesis proceed. In fact, there was a as a last where they were seriously, discuss the item based on this final stage. So I think this is something which we really in schools. Where they, they have hard work that they have put in, it's very well spent. And finally presented, I personally feel that the design should be presented. Because I would design program. The present design, audio study will really be part of that because all the what you call the things now understood as your ear part will definitely be reflected when you once you decide. So I think in all these reasons we missed that is part. I see that didn't understand exactly you did after. It's very good. The studies have taken care of a lot of input also fine structure. But it just me what is the error that I existing didn't understand. It is there, but it was being that's my point. So
Done would just by starting from what is
yeah, it remember also that
what value of bringing to the table, then the skills are embedded in that. So that's what is point. I agree.
Very interesting observation. I think dialogue is critical. When the profession with the academia is what happens. The answers are very different. The personal perspective focuses more on the product and educate very rightly focuses on the process. I see a problem here, and that's a problem. We have limited time, all of us, and we have limited resources. And how to most of it. So the point here is done your best. You have all your drawings. You have 10 minutes. So how do you make that presentation 10 minutes to make it effective, memorable, and other opportunities might, like I use provocation, it's very constant. You make them up because you want change or you be successful, whatever the objective. So you have to want this communication. It's difficult and somehow we don't have much time during the we have to cover so many subjects in that limited and all that. But we need to train ourselves to be more effective communicators. So you take the example of a person like KRVIA. There's no amount of time to make you think, realize and emphasize on all issues. But there are many presentations which you may remember anything. So I personally think that, like even the drawings, you give a tapestry of all the work, but focus on something which matters the most and build your narrative.
Can I just add something to what I was saying? In fact, see, I know that the whole idea about a student in particular tends to do it to give just to what they have done, the amount of work they want to show it in front of people. It's very difficult. It's very immense. But what we miss, the second was pointing out, the sheet were not at all readable. I was training myself to read those. You know that this is the place that it is hanging. You have to think of font size. You have to think about kind of how how big it is. If it is a magazine or a presentation, a publication, it's fine. This particular small difference is fine. But this happens to me, especially in the kind of data and the technology that was sent, like in Israel, where it is you say whole page, but they have written down. It's okay for near to that, but for presentation, when you take the same scale and do it, more things lost. The more effort I put in is lost with a single decision that we take. That's what I was mentioning. And one thing what we have to learn is this what it is. You will have 5-10 ideas. That's it. With all this 6 months effort or 5 months of effort put in, you will have strong 5 or 6 ideas. You learn how to put it in. Those ideas or 6 steps. So I think that's very critical. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, yeah.
So I think that this problem is actually not discussing it because it's not there designed. So I found the idea is very interesting because this is about dialogues and having about cities. I really loved your present because it came from experience. What needs to be your chance and what is the right now. And I want to ask you, in your speak, because we speak JJ, we speak on the street, etc. In your study on the particularities of the West, right? In the KRVIA, we now model we say I use homogeneous takeover. That were the knowledges or types of spaces. Because you have interviewed students from different backgrounds. So Mahavin actually seems like homogeneous, but it has many edges and margins are not, very upper middle class and very high. Only class. So I want to know whether those studies reveal different colleges and hospitals, whether the Indians of children, different kinds of neighborhoods.
Actually, what I did when I was doing the housing typology, that was my first wave, like because most of the time we spend is at home. I realized that so I cannot mention it. So charcoal site and services scheme that is also a part of my site, and I realized that the most advantaged children, those who were living in those site and services scheme areas, because houses were around a common chalk. There was this common space in between the houses. So the kids had place to, there was no vehicle movement because it was a very low income housing. There were not much cars, not even a way to get a chalk for the car. And also the parents had a lot of, they were spending a lot of time outside sitting on the, outside the steps. So there was a lot of safety for the, for those children. So when at 9:30 or I went in the afternoon, I always found children playing. And the most disadvantaged kind of people, I will not call those in the informal sector because there were some incidents too. You have there are shortage still outside and play. I think the most disadvantaged were those middle income houses which had just that one around the house to play and that parents were not trying to, safe to get to that boundary. Inside they have got no space. They cannot play, with a bag or because they're scared that they will get the, car. And the parent will also not feel safe because they know that car can start and turn and enter that much. Yes.
Situation here, you are topic. But now this is that percentage where doing some sort of study between the kids, urban areas and the rural areas. See, when you look upon rural areas, mostly those areas are kind of boundary areas. Much better urban area and number of problems. So there, what happens is that we always want to street smart kids from the cities. Becoming street smart basically because confronting different type of challenges. So I must feel that these are challenges that you face in urban situation or urban area that if fit for the world, So that's also there. So once we ease out the whole thing from the kind of this thing, they may be more creative, they be more kind of, there are certain aspects add on to that cognitive development. At the same time, the challenge that they face in their day-to-day life is also wisdom because they need some, more capable to stay.
Yeah, I agree. The idea of children as the sorts of special beings that we protected from difficulty is something that has led to suburbia. And the theorist Richard Carrera effect is that those are very these are very societies has seen adolescent because that is raised away from. I think it's a good thing for the city not only as it appears but also as a similar. And that is really what Jesus was all about. So that's how I really of interest. And especially you presented it in this the role of strategy when playing so there is nothing that changed. But more, I think what was interesting for me was when I did all the three presentations together. I looked at the title, Sustainable Future. I started thinking about like what is happening with this can happen, when I agree that the presentation is legible. Okay. Just a sort of vision of the future with kind of the new relationship that's emerging with nature. See, there's this from Rashitas to oceans with agriculture. Things are growing, new streets, the children rather than cannot playing and making farming. So I think that there's something which I think all three, if you put them together, they have a certain magic for us. Relationship with each other, imaginations of nature within them have a certain kind of beauty and all, which I think would be nice to kind of really capture in some form. And I think the quality clearly I think one thing, of course, you capture is very relevant that this is for the kind of initiative. Pradita and issue can you just highlight some of this? Here's the theory. Because it will resonate what Manoj was talking about. He first presented the stakeholders in the area. See the half maybe enough. It is through supplementals.
So second, parameter service people. So there's a very thorough analysis on the stakeholders because content dependency, which is largely dependent on tourism. Most of the revenue related is tourism, which like seamless for most time. And the main needs of I mentioned also diversity and social economic issues. So even like is strengthen stakeholders and also because of gentrification happening due to this, the whole village what I mean destroyed. People are very worried and we people living shows outside and living the privacy, but also very important because that is the main source of income spread. So the intent was to kind of find we could bring the people together by recall urban interventions, which is linked to the urban system, as well as in the social of management.
I guess I feel in which I submitted to parents. So for the parents, something to get the as it is for that way. But as there is a lot of pressure from the build and other people who work and residential. So all my thesis was majority was stakeholders. So I have designed or equal understanding. So help convert the land into mix and it can be drive and
Sorry, we're running a bit late. We have a lot of items that we can take some questions in there.
No, let's say. Can continue.
just let's get a question.
Yeah. Mine is more of a, I think, remark because lot of the presentation or intonation that and also sorry presentations like that they for reflect for education which back the issue like in case ideas which media don't like implement and in some cases we as educationists, we have to reframe or calibrate how we are seeing this because I think as you spoke, you had to deal with a set of stakeholders, complex of stakeholders who spoke certain conditions in which you realize your visions. So I'm really doing that. Is our education us that? Is education even getting us or extending the lines? So that's language, that's how you listen to a set of people who are not expert, who are anyway going to understand those situations. Okay, so are we in a function we have to delegate this whole understanding of intent? Does that
Thanks for that. It would be 1 minute to answer because you have a third year student, that's semester student, that is an integrated plan design, LMPT student third semester. What we have is we have our students to go and be there at and all of this happen in the site. And all the positions will have local language. So that's a very difficult task, probably the kind of technical language that we speak in the students to put in local language. It's a very difficult task for the students to do that themselves. And also, we call it, the students have to go there, they have to fix the most important place. People, they have to do exercise of people, get and have discussion, and third is a right of musicians. And this is happening since already years now. It is another as you said, this is one solution which I felt from the academic level that we can do schools. I think schools will make that makes a difference, I believe. And at that time when students really were says and how difficult it is to instead of maybe taking the idea. And so on board to be part of this like nothing but I said is spaces, each of the really relevant place. But I don't have to see this thing anywhere. Take it simple. Like for example, each of these things can come up with one A4 sheet like database. And if you can compare this, the entire studios having all the others fit together and consider the models India, I think that would be excellent leader. If you can do that, maybe you can do that. I was really like, I don't know my own words.
I'm also
Okay.
I know it's strong.
Yes, another problem that we integrate with other professions. So if we have that, since I'm doing a lot of effort, I know that the service will be well. I believe that we can have together. That's something which can be.
Actually,
Yes.
also we can understand the flow.
Yes. Exactly. It made 2 or 3 people think the working. I think that makes.
Let's take it. Thank you.
Some other
Can you please hold this?
Field of architecture and urban conservation and fact that so there is a recipient highest degree of in culture, the recipient of one of the art section. The government of in 2008 for a lofty commitment to conservation and state investment. She was the recipient for heritage duration in Asia's region. Out of merit, Honorable Mention School 2016. She is the recipient of Common Professional Fellowship 2011. One India Travel Fellowship 2010. Scottish Scholarship 2006. As well as HPC plus Australia Award 2011. Architectural Based Society and Award 2011. She has authored a book on world traditions, contemporary architecture, as multiple articles on fish conservation and breeding page. She is currently visiting faculty to Department of Urban Design, School of Planning, Architecture, New Delhi, and a member of the council at KRVIA. I would now like to call Aishwarya for a question.
Very good, my bio. I would like to that I am a heritage and I am so trying to agree talk to leaders of heritage in the economy. So that's why when these young speak of today, what should I speak of? I say there are three film implement project. That's a very difficult one, but like so today, I'm going to take you on sort of my first perspective of what I have learned the last 20 years. Some things, mostly all things through the years that we encountered. And that's why I call the presentation looking through the graph perspective practicing conservation. I'm probably a lot of people ask me very from South student. Yeah, I'm generally 100% student, but I'm brought up in Delhi and that is identity. So what is that? So uh, what is that to work in a city of history and work in a city of monument. Therefore, urban function was the most useful for me to do. For the last, this is an art I wanted to be talking about how conversation of people text in the last 20 years have been an example of this particular process. So when I finished my architecture at HB Delhi, and I wanted to study urban conservation. So I find there are two courses in urban conservation here. So I'm really glad that you are doing this course in urban conservation because I think the intersection between urban design and conservation is really what we at in every days. So we came to study urban conservation in a city in Scotland, a city called Dundee, which resurrected itself from an industrial decline. So post-industrial city, nobody wants to do anything about, and it's now a city of this. What was really interesting, how I went to Bombay and the first thing I really struck was where because when I back for a break, I crossed the road. I used to be in Prabhali. I could cross it for 20 minutes. It was just so much traffic. So first thing that struck me was UK, the people. And yet, when we're here, when we're looking at some of these examples, and I think there is this sort of that people have got, what they do is better, let's replicate that it's said, or how the observation thing. The thing is that as complicated as it is here, there are also developers, there are also big fish, there are also this entire, there's campaign recently about building on the Oxford area, which people try to save it, couldn't save it. So it's not like everything is really out there. And I think that's something that I got back, saying that everything is different. So which bring me so time divided my president into multiple nuggets, which are called hashtag food, because they have no answer. These are my sort of questions to you. So we've heard and learned and read many papers which say heritage isn't about me, it's about people live them and who live that. Question is, who are these and how do you find them? So when we talk about urban heritage, how do we define urban heritage and who gets to decide? Is it an expert that gets to decide what is the city's heritage or different people and how do you talk to them? I was speaking to Manoj earlier that do we have the tools as some conservation architects to go and talk to communities? We don't have anthropological training or anything like that. So each one of us is relying on our personal personality and skills if people open up to us or they won't. Because how to deal with community and community is not some homogeneous, people that they will all think in a certain way. I did like to be a community like a joint family where one person is looking in one direction, another is looking in another, and three are conspiring against you something else. Because in your life, that's how community works. If you think you can walk in home and say, this is what I'm doing and everybody's coming, I don't think it's happening. At least with me. So the point is that when you have all sorts of people, what their heritage and can it be single answer? And then how do you get to that answer? And it's all to say that we should put people center. How do we do that? And how do we in my experience in the last 20 years, when we talk about it, the way the expert defines it and the way the stakeholders define it are two very different things. And then how do you reach that? So my provocation really is when we talk about a place for people in the practice, where is the people in the practice conservation? When things are designed in, cases, it's people are being told that this is what is happening, you agree or disagree. But is there a real creation process where the diverse voices of people can be brought on to the design stage of project? And that's the question I'm asking. Where is the people in the current practice of heritage function? And how do they work? What is the process? How do you bring them together? And I think different projects try to things because there is no set sort of process. Which brings to my next food for thought, which is heritage a thing or is it a process? Because most likely, when we get all this inheritance about the idea of heritage being a monument, put it in a pedestal, put it in a mirror, actually, heritage to me is much more than that. It's not just about a professional review till your heritage. So the thing is when you work and work with different kinds of communities, more privileged communities. And one privileged communities is that when we talk about community-led design, mostly marginalized communities, and I sometimes wonder, I personally never work on a social design project because I don't have the tools, skill set, or the actual vocabulary to really, truly, authentically empathize with them. I ask him to do that. I work with privileged communities who understand language, but are even more complex because so much more than these cases. So it's not about going and saying, do you agree? There are 20 months back and we say, but why, how, where, how will you do it? And that really brings out the question because at the same level, you really need to be at the same level in terms of intellectual and social to be able to co-engage. If there is a disparity, I don't think that genuinely that's because I feel that I don't have the set to be able to do that. So one of these communities is when who is defining the community's heritage? You define that. And As experts, we can only tell you what to do because that's what we are trained. We're going to tell you fix falling or ceiling, but also how to do it. How to bring back materials that takes lost, how to repair something that's what we know, that how to preserve, how to make like water in your backyard for construction. But it's also about what happens after you deliver the project. Does the project really end when you deliver it? Or is it a process? I think it's a process. It continues. You deliver, there is somebody who creates it, there changes, it continues. Health is an ongoing thing, it's about it continues. And you were saying, I was so happy to hear what you were saying, Manoj, that it can't be in silos. And as an architect, your idea is as good in your head. When you get down to the local government and you get them to believe in your idea, it's never really a co-created process because and I can whatever they want, but unless local government, your municipality, or local people are agreement with what you can design, it will change the minute you make it. So when you have top projects, they go back to the end in 5 time. No one really understood what was happening, why things didn't be the way they were. And lastly, who are the tokens of this after we hand over? We can say a lot of things, but they are the building engineers, they are the inspector works, and they are the people who maintain building. So you can rent on a mistake and hand it over and let's go. What's for it? But if the guy is supposed to maintain every day, say to wait and plug out, what good is it? How can you sit down and understood this everyday problem? How can you do that through the things that you do? Which brings me to next application. How do you script all of these actors, your designer, your developer, your government, your local municipality, your community workers, your with everybody into one story? Because often people think that the artist is the hero of the story, but unfortunately, it's still that you're just a facilitator, and there are so many other actors that are required to make the story actually go become a hit film because with one person. So this is just a sort of a diagrammatic representation of saying that people say, why to do a heritage conservation idea? And they say, because we want to do a sense of place. What is a sense of place? And so this is different from my thesis where you can't preserve place identity because you have to sustain it. Because place identity is what you are ascribing to a place. And as generations change and people change, so does the identity. So an architect cannot preserve its identity. It has to be a collaborative process between your designer, the developer, manager, as well as the users. How people use spaces and it changes their identity. So the question really is, if you want to use health conservation as a tool for sustaining the place identity down, you need to bring in all of these people. And what are the mechanisms that we have to bring all of these people together? Which brings me to the next point. Sustained heritage is that which is adaptable. I'm an expert in everyday buildings, and that I said I wanted to study urban conservation. I haven't conserved one point because I don't find it interesting. I find everyday building much more challenging. I think there's when talking about cities, there's so much more that each one of us, each architect, each designer, each interior designer, each homeowner, each institution has to offer. There is a role everybody when we talk about cities, and it's not about heritage architects saving the world. It is about heritage architects creating space that everybody can save the world because it's not a backward or alone corner. So it's just an example of when we talk about sustainable heritage. Sustainable heritage is not about just doing something to the way it was. This is an old picture of little puppy there doing inside the tool school, which has become because that's what organization does to most people. This is basically incremental changes that the users thought were important to do. And why it kick off what was inaugurated, we were able to convert this now into two accommodations for the staff in 21st century sense. Similarly, this is a picture of a Haveli building, which is a grade 2 building. It was one of my first project. And this is what this 8 years ago. It was made with a lot of that. I'll tell story some other time, another time today. But and this is another project I was doing up in the hills. This store was into this office site. So the point I'm trying to say is heritage is not about pricing things in art. It's for every building with new imaginations, life changes, users change, factors change, and we need to train our next generation to think of heritage less conservatively, particularly when we're talking about building of everyday value, everyday heritage that we want to deal with. My proposition is listing new way forward for everyday heritage, and hopefully we design a tool to deal with it in sensible, sustainable, and creative forward. And the last I'd like to talk about is how we move from heritage view of something socially, where we believe that we are protecting heritage because there's a historic value in it. I think we need to protect heritage and do something with it. So it's not about what we inherit, but it's what we can do with it to add to its social value. Because making sense of heritage, I've been working in a case where I try to tell the stories that I have learned to young people, to communities, to see how heritage can actually impact other people's lives and how can restoration projects add to different people who live. How can one inspire the other? And how can we create three tools that help countries come together and do something around heritage? So my last point really is how can conservation become a tool for our city, where we design, intervene, act, and collaborate together to make our cities more living and better.
So now we begin with the part of presentation. I like to call Munal Kar from KRVIA to present urban regeneration, so integration of heritage value, conservation into city development. The case of Pune.
Today I'll be talking about urban regeneration in Canton area, particularly in May, from development to present conditions and intentions. So to understand what are the cantons? Cantons are basically established at the temporary administration of British government, and eventually they turned out to a town and they went as a. So they are a part of it. Yes, they are looked as a different part, and they should be looked at the city and not a different city in the city. So the study was carried out the HUR approach, the historic urban landscape approach, and HUR looks at a broader setting rather than single structure. And it is a holistic approach, talks about from identification the areas, elements of the development of to the development mechanism. So the map show the physical boundary of the canton in Pune and Old City. So if we look at the setting of the cantonment, there used to be functional zones. The cell one used to be army stills. Around it used to be market around it you be a residential area for defense, and boundary areas used to be that area, which used to be a buffer to the east and the west area. At the present, these zones have been changed, and you have different spread over the different areas, defense. Um, the bazaars in areas are the prominent ones. They remain still as the bazaars. Uh, the main concerns here at a broad level are uh, there is a change in use of these areas. There are some intact heritage places, but they are not identified as a heritage. They are going under the redevelopment. There is a less public accessibility within these areas. Um, so as we see, there's a loss of visual identity. There are new redevelopment. There is no identification of heritage. So because of that, there are buildings coming up. If we see, we look at the chapter of the cantonment area, there are different columns, they have different characters. Uh, then there is this shop come houses in the cantonments, which only defines the character of cantonment, with a Japanese word, as you see. So on a broad level, I'll talk about identifying the heritage, giving it a protection, then accessibility to civilians in the dense area, protecting, making the heritage precincts, protecting it, basically being the accessibility to civilians to the defense area. And a larger level, talking about dissolving the cantonments, being a different jurisdiction to it, keeping the defense area as it is, and the rest of the area could be dissolved in the municipality, giving more opportunities to the civilians. To help in a cohesive and comprehensive urban. So the conservation all about to small interventions, be it a building or be it a city. So on an intervention level, I'm talking about firstly, mainly listing the building, giving the question. Second, on an urban level, making policies which is about adaptive reuse, height restriction, restrictions to developments. Yes, that's it.
Next, I'd like to call Private Vidyalkar from KRVIA to present on convention approach to monitor impact of urban infrastructure on construction sector alongside the case of urban.
So, so the intent of topic was study was to investigate the relationship between the networks and the various settlement practices of the history. Also, the rules that was mainly for the main purpose of communication, but and political impact. So these roads were used to offer different parameters or different tags to the road, like for example, it also gets into cross-cultural interaction. That, for example, earlier in India, we have identified two trade routes. First is the key road, the road, and the second one, the Dakshina. This road have different characters. For example, GP road, different use as a royal or whose political agendas. So the character of the road was right on that. But for example, structure came on that was related to the purpose of the studies, the elements along the road. On the second, while the introduction it was majorly came as a route as for trading cultural uh, cultural cultural route as a cultural route. So the character of route was defined by that particularly. So a lot of export trade came at the routes, which gave us different forms of settlement in it. It starts from Mauryan dynasty, and the great flourishes in Mauryan dynasty. We can see it, the road reach to the pipeline, and then it was to the southern part India. We came across different settlements like markets, then market centers, ports, cities, etc. So in Savanna dynasty, various ports were established for the international trade purpose. And one of the important trade route was from Sora connecting to the Python. It connects port cities to the Deccan Plateau, the region. As I said earlier, okay, the purpose of defines the character of the route or structures came in from that route. In different dynasties, the purpose remains the same. The trading purpose remains the same, but in Sakwana dynasty was the more transport also in different periods. So firstly, we can see there are different caves for resting of the people, for resting for the people. Then the real spaces came across. But in Maratha dynasty, as the material of the trade was changed. The precious stones, the precious materials were used to transport that road. So the mentality, this route. More the tedious route, but it is safer place to travel or for the precious wells. This route finalize or get into day-to-day activities. In Maratha, as the dynasty changes, the material started to but the character of the route started to change. Like from the game of the game started to get fortification and converted into forts and etc. And period and British period, the mode of transport will change. From horses or animals for trading, they started to use motor vehicles. This route got tedious for the trading purpose, and they got the alternative like marshals that and that. But route still holds very much significant historical significance. Have various of caves, ports, communities. So these communities still we can find interventions between between like the Zunnar people from Zunnar still came to Kalyan vegetables or the Kalyan or the people still go to the Chavan or Manikdo area for the for craftsmanship they offer in those villages. So the interdependency is still there. So for analysis of these urban settlements or different types of urban settlements, five settlement patterns decided on the basis of the types of settlement we consider nucleus, linear and disperse. So for the nucleus and pattern, land as a case study was studied. Then for dispersed settlement pattern, urban and mangrove select as they have this connection with the trade route, but they still are slightly away from trade route, but they still are connected strongly with the trade route. And the Murbad and Titwara for the linear development or linear growth. From this analysis, Murbad was taken as a part of a case study because it offers various layers of the history and still holds a significant historical background, cultural background, because the communities live there are still practicing the uh, their activities or still practicing their to run their businesses. So every community that came in Murbad added the different layer to the history of as immense logical factor also. Then the community factor, the rice mill factor that in this. So it structures also depict the same. Then on the perspective, the issue is studied in the two parts. Like first is on the macro level, which is Kalyan to Sundar, and then specific case of Murba, where Murba we used as a type because the same issues were find similar to the whole region. Like the high divisions towards the historical structures, the lack of knowledge about the countries which are practiced from long period, the ecological ecological factor, the barrier is but it is really led. Such a problem overcome this, the two strategies which first was management plan. So can I begin? So can first one management plan that also divided into parts of macro level, which states keep creating a trade routes, proper signages, proper routes for the tracking people. So on the further C level, in micro interventions for micro interventions on this level, we can say the character of Murba editing change day by day, and so we can make some proposals or policy for to retain the character of the main streets that were the most chaotic streets of the places. Also, like these are some examples of signages or applications of signages that we can.
Now, I would like to call Vaibhav from PVP. Present is reimagining the Tri-City Mart, Central Administrative Cultural Business Center in Kanali, Miraj, and Kupon.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Vaibhav Patil, and I'm from Sangli. Let me first tell you about the Sangli city. So Sangli city is a district place that is situated in the southwestern zone of Maharashtra, sharing its boundaries with the district of Kolhapur, Satara, and Shahpur. It also shares a state boundary with Kerala, which district. So Sangli is having a population of about 6 lakh thousand, and it's a tier 3 city. So about the reimagining by city, administrative, cultural, and business hub, only mirrors and cocoa. So I guess you might be about the city of mirrors. It's also called the southwestern capital for health facilities. So this city has almost 70% of its area covered by hospitals and healthcare. This is the identity of mirror city. Talking of Sangli, Sangli was built in 1860. It was basically a business and market center for the western zone of Mumbai. And they added to Port City. Port City holds IDC areas, was designated for casting and tooling industry for this particular year. So these cities have a municipal governance. Like these cities have a single municipal corporation. It has some 112 operators and one mayor. So three cities: Sangli City, Port City, and Mirror City. Sangli City, which is famous for for its medical and healthcare. Mirror City, famous for its medical, healthcare, and tertiary fields. And Port City, which is famous for casting, forging, MIDC, industry, and manufacturing. So, think about the geographical location of Sangli. It is positioned into a very what we can say significant location. It is covered by three lakes by river. So it having almost massive uh, every year. The core league, which is having the markets, total three net areas. Uh, so it has three total market areas which are under continuous threats of floods. So the main proposal is to shift all these business things into one set part, and also think about the governance and municipal corporation. It has a scattered system. Like if you need to one thing, you need to go for around 3 to 4 places, which are in multiple places, like in multiple cities, to complete one single task. So it was the basic to bring in all scattered systems to one single place and create a single working municipal corporation, uh, say municipal infrastructure for this. So the concept which was for the of this particular area was live, work, and take. So where can work in the races, and again we have the race surrounded by the areas which were residential areas. Which, we can cut them into, uh, which we can develop them into some new residential zones. So, and again some place for relaxation and recreation. So the urban design principles that portray the live and play concepts in the people, place, and net. Second, human-centric content activity, place making, both convenience with mixed development, and sixth was life balance. These were the core principles which the design was totally based on. So they are which are set for this particular domain lies in the same part of Sangli and the city. It is about 5 kilometers from land, 6 kilometers to the city. So the area which already selected has a reservation for the same thing. Is reserved under Selvi and public space. So these are an ideal for particular sort of land expansion. These three cities were model and part of single municipal corporation. There were many new things that added to this, but due to some other things, political and change of this political nature of this place, they just postponed. So talk about the aspect layers. greater residential area covered its eastern zone. The northern covered by this particular educational area. Also, western part also covered the educational industry. So they gave it for 2 line and again divided into 2 parts, one to the zone and to the south. And according to the as clear sections were conducted one thing. So this was the design that we proposed. Uh, particular segment, which was southern segment, which was specifically dedicated to the administrative things, which included various administrative things, which included like services, registration, all such urban infrastructural things. While the northern sector had some commission and other sort of things, included some other departments like Samaj Kalyan Vibhag. So these were the parts that were divided in. And again, surrounding areas, the surrounding areas which were developed in permanent mixed use were taken under public and government part, this private and public partner. So these were few areas which were done the development of this case. So what a basic imagination was like the place should be developed was just a brief pitch. We was thought well before starting the design, and accordingly the studies and the things were taken care of. This is design. So many guidelines were borrowed from design guidelines, and other urban design guidelines narratives. So this. So when we think of this place, what is the value additions that such development can bring into this place? So the first thing was it can improve the marketplaces, that scattered markets can be brought to a single place. Second thing was to streamline all the scattered administrative activities. So that can be again taken here. And also the thing was to provide some for housing and residential facilities to the people working here in these facilities who travel from far other places. So this is also the thing that is taken care of. Thank you.
I would request the panel participants to begin with the panel.
Yeah. Very interesting topics and really so when I begin to understand that the course does something to each one of us. It's clear. So this is clear. So for 5 years, you study architecture, trained as a professional. Then you undertake 2 years of study in urban design. And now you are a new professional. It seems we tend to find that we have so much thought and so much of understanding and skills which apply to your current activities. Like in all the 3 presentations, I missed, for example, last presentation. though there were sections, but I didn't see sketches of the kind of life that you would imagine in the new city center that we're creating. You have learned almost for 5 years why you want to do that. And now you have more sophisticated tools to add to those skills. So if you apply that, it will enable the stakeholders, it may be administrators, it may be business people, or it may be a community, to understand what you are to convey. So I would like to emphasize, please don't forget your fears of architecture. To me, urban design is just an integral part of architecture that some other day we can discuss, but a critical issue.
I think what is the preoccupation with or like basic notion that you have to use the verbal coverage, arrest, and take it to a certain. But I think what is obvious that change is not to stop. And so you need to learn how can you actually manage change? How can you do it? And why you are talking about big frameworks, but well, this and the other. Why don't you framework is livability. Livability comes with ability. And the proposal from the proposal around defining it. That takes away diversity or what is the case really interesting. Takes away what may mark it different from the other. It is all of the things that are happening, life that is happening around it. And if you divorce conservation and life, then all you're doing is you're creating open air, that loses its really quick. I think that's a thing I can see on screen. There is a right to build an identity. What about what it is? It's not a slave. And there is something very special about these places. I couldn't see anything apart from the forms that you consider is important at a particular zone. And really, I want to ask is it everything? That what is given place society. Maybe students like to participate to respond.
One thing I have to believe this, the kind of minds that has been produced, right? I should have been because I'm in 6 thesis now. I think there's an effort from the faculty side to make sure that the delivery of this much should be there. That is very, but the problem that I find is it's a repetition what we have mentioned in the first slide. See, the problem is some of the thesis not being fully delivered. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it's not really, it's kind of an additional what do you call venue you have the same here for presenting a thesis. But whether it is for the jury or this for presentation like this, I personally felt you guys should work on it. So do you work on that? Do you present what I'm supposed to present? To do it. I haven't said it. If it was there, presentations are gone very good because you have got a material. I'm not even want some speaking about the country. I'm not touching that part. It's orange. I'm speaking about a presentation. Because when you get a chance to initiate it out, take this as an opportunity. Take this as an opportunity, have to script it. So this
creates a lot of difference, from one point to another point, what I meant to convey and how to convey, what the images that we are going to use, and what sort of presentation we are going to do. And these are, I mean, you have it as a very kind of a very academic presentation. That's it.
Okay, so it's going to sound a bit like defense, other patterns, but to be fair, it's all got to do with the relation of the we are teaching. Unfortunately, since we are bound by universities to a certain extent, there is a kind of outcome that is expected. And not that, like, certain modules to be met, certain parameters have to be set, that sort of a thing. While they all start with a larger idea, they are talking about the creation of systems and tangible and all of that. And at the end of, because there are certain set parameters that is expected out of it, it kind of does the outcome that's boiled down to those addressing those specific set parameters. And then that the larger, which they were trying to say, for example, the actual one. I'm saying like look at individual wins. Nice, you look at the city, don't look at areas of the city, whether it is history, heritage, landscape, people, activity, all social, all of that. To the fact we are talking about integrating three sort of different cities with three different ideas related to sort of an image, or whether we are concrete roots where we are expanded the actual to now going to a different context. You all start with these real idea where there are three little concerns, but end with the actual coordination because it's about by University of Pune, I'm sure the University of Pune, there's a certain expectation that comes with getting a degree. And that sort of kind of becomes a crutch for them that this is going to be the what you also see when you see patterns that are bit that kind of limiting them sort of
it's really interesting. I mean, as was mentioning the dialogue, see, one of the recruits of design informs here. This is already in India. I was a part of that, and one thing that many people were mentioning is our students are not able to work in the kind of challenges that the companies wanting them to do. They are not trained. So I'm thinking about one school. Even if you look at urban design education in all of India, same thing that's happening everywhere. And as ma'am was telling, every university, like it's true for every university. So I think that we have to start thinking differently because the demands are very different. The whole world is changing. The whole world is changing. The demand is changing. As far as academics is concerned, we have to train business to critically interested needs. That's when they become small. So what I will is, I don't know what happens here in university, but third semester, research part is very, very important. Research should be. So whether you give a chance for research to happen in the third semester.
Yes, they start.
If you can conclude with the research findings in the third semester itself, you should be able to transfer those findings of the research into the analysis. The final semester. Set every thesis should be design oriented. Right? Is that
Yes,
there? Okay, fine. Okay, anyway, you have to speak a board of studies and make some changes. I don't want to. Yeah.
You're talking about, I don't know how many hundreds of colleges.
Okay, fine. So, this part see, I always believe that with framework, when you speak about challenges, I take challenges as opportunities. So that's how design brain works. So every challenges, if we take it as an opportunity, think we have together and come out with a solution. How to tackle this issue you are mentioning? I personally feel it's possible. Possibly we have to sit together. I think we can think about a session also. Even online is fine, where we can seriously look into these aspects because this is going to help students a lot and also to bring out the first one apply for a job.
I think the issue here is what Aishwarya and I have discussed yesterday, is that cohort. of students who actually apply for the design course or an architect and urban conservation course are architects only. Okay? And initially, I thought that probably there should be historians, there should be various other disciplines who are part of the course to facilitate this dialogue between architects and historians or geographers, various urban sociologists, and they will realize and embody ways of kind of putting that across because it won't be user-friendly. And I think that would require transformation in the council architecture looks at admissions into these modest programs. And what I'm observing is that there are many individuals who are interested in conservation, but they prefer these short-term courses. They are not necessarily architects. They are people who are interested in various kind of disciplines. But yeah, they have some kind of feelings towards conservation and they move into conservation management. I think that kind of structural change will require at that level to kind of encourage the other way of looking at kind of things. But this is wrong, so I don't know. I mean,
it's just actually while agreeing with what and also that said, I would like to ask students who have gone through this process as to particularly respond to this that to the ideas of architecture that we have, why is it not reflecting away? I'm asking this question not from the perspective that I know what I've been part of the studio have done. So I know that we have the 10th, second semester there architecture education. But what happens? And I'm asking because across all the years we come across student work at the thesis level. We get overwhelmed by the urban kind of notion or so I want students to respond to the question in a little more kind of genuine way.
I would like to say that yes, that this entire shift from architecture to urban is a small one. So it's like a it's very maybe somebody who practices 7 8 years. It's I think it's the span of 2 years. That span of 2 years is a very a limited time to even get or change that perspective. So I think, and there's also a thing which distinguishes it. So if I give an intervention, I shouldn't be behaving like a kid. But so there's a thin line, but always there this perspective, living as a build, as a build into a bigger perspective of a playing and I think it's I think now and because like I realize we cannot teach students. So what do we teach to is the press and in urban that press research. So we first 2 years to understand this entire idea of because somewhere I think like I don't know like it would tell what I want to say, but it's that this entire for example I'm block of children here who are formulating a problem. So I interviewed 20 parents and two of them had and we were okay with it. So I'm formulating and trying to understand people do, but it's actually a lot of research and I'm trying to imagine a scenario which doesn't exist. So I think that 6 months of a thesis is a very short time to start exercises. So I'm currently end half the answer. You don't have time left to put it paper. I think it's the time thing which the character of it, the marketplaces, it the holdings, it defines the character of that. But at the same time, it also defines the structure, the head. We don't know what's behind those holdings or the lies behind. So I'm appreciating it in the work. So in the interventions, it talk about removing those and regulating those will more appreciate the build the heritage and will add to sensitize people about caring the heritage. It's not just our families, but at the same time.
That's what I'm trying to say. That when you look at a place and you look at how these people identify with the sort of market, is how do you this the collective memory of that place? You as an architect are obsessed with it, but a general public who coming to that particular market or who is actually has some kind of emotional connection to that market may not be so obsessed with the day as you. What I'm trying to say is that science has a significant role to play in how that identity built. Strip of that and try to regulate to actually change the identity in privileging the architecture of the building because I think it is good. What I'm trying to say is when you work in a context and looking at HUL kind of a you have to look at diverse opinions. You have to look at what is it that's giving that place that identity, and it may not be your perspective of privileging the building above other things. That is what I'm trying to. So, particularly because you took framework of HUL. If you had taken another framework, yeah, okay, your design would justify. But you took a framework which bridges livability, which bridges community, which bridges activity. And then framework disappeared in your dish. That is what I'm saying. When you are choosing framework and follow through with it. The moves that you make. Because designers are all these. Alright, so in complete session, we take a 10 break and back for the times. Tea, coffee outside, and take a look at this panel.
I was for the school. It's a guy for the devotion of this. convenient, healthy, affordable, appropriate, socially relevant, sustainable, resilient, and inspiring environment. But it's free to add the issue that you are concerned. So this was the list that we started with in 1999 when we did the first conference. Human habitat provide work for all, education for all, social, cultural, and sports facilities for all. To put it very simply, that it should provide all that we need to live comfortably and to develop quickly in our settings. Human health ensure affordable and sustainable housing for all. So key issue. Human habitats are based on the concept of social development. They are appropriate choices of techniques. They foster socially driven communities, relationships, and enrich our research. Human habitats enable citizens and communities to have their identities and offer variety, diversity, and plurality. Human habitat encourage innovation in planning, construction, condition, and development. Human habitats provide easy accessibility and ability, affordable and sustainable transportation, and community networks. Provide adequate water supply, affordable energy, high sanitation, resilient environment through sustainable service networks. Habitat protect human gender rights, provide consistent and legal frameworks for respiratory management and development. Habitat guarantees harmony in all development. So this is a chapter on the world human habitats, which we discussed, which I visited at the conference, the National Council of Human Habitat. We have been discussing this 1989. The last conference was held in 2015. With all the where do we begin? You begin with where you live and your surrounding your neighborhood. So this is not comedy on Warsaw Beach. As you will find in Mumbai, people do not have affordable housing and they have to solve their own problems. And they have to find ways and means to survive. They will where it is possible. So in Goa, the slums are key with very space for movement and social interactions. It is the responsibility of the government and society to provide affordable housing to the slumless and the slum rebuilding programs. The slums that are being fulfilled the trade or subjects due to high light and heavy rain. This leads us to think that we change our housing policy programs. In order to change the situation, we need to allocate more funds to the sector, take up the responsibility to promote social housing and community housing in a big way. At the local level, we need to create awareness issues, build local capacity, and organize cooperatives to promote community housing. It is the duty of the government to facilitate the process of housing development. Great forces not be able to meet the demands of all sectors of the society, and it only to use its profit. We need a socially relevant policies to obtain land, finance, and legal means to achieve targets of in-house. In the 60s and 70s, the attempts to provide affordable low-rise development, and these are situated around. Basement is the one after high-rise development. It is unaffordable land to reduce it. There is a constant pressure across our trade with this different high-rise powers. And with that ever-increasing traffic on trade roads, there is a little road widening to the traffic demand. The need to our public transportation systems. So we need more buses and more trains. And so we have this work now developing at a very rapid pace. Transportation system to metro and also and it affects the surrounding area and is surrounding development FAI increase for the commercial residential development, all of this is. So that is a need for parallel flow, which is hardly implemented from the. So in 2009, we called for adoption of national policy programs to address the real issues and people's priority involving appropriate effort in sustainable development friendly and transportation systems. We should provide guidance, resources to the techniques for the development of the national transportation network, reducing states, cities, villages, we call the development of implementation of state and regional transportation systems. To ensure safety and security all, promote the social harmony and diversity in the community, and sustainable economic development and prosperity, and efficiency in the effective monitoring across the cities and sustainable, which we adopted and for several initiatives in 2009. Things are changing, things are changing with highlight level. Some may look more relevant, more good, and not. It's a grace for the development. Without looking at the condition of existing housing stock, the buildings will last for maybe 70 to 100 years are being put down by hardly 30-35. As a result of that, there is a blacklist with parking and bikes and cars. And this different was so just to give us the replication. And what was done 30 years ago, where the parking was only on the road, now should be changing, having car parking lots which are 3 or 4-story cars. So the nature of relationship with the surrounding and the surrounding will undergo real change. Quality of the street life is also equally important. Safety for pedestrian, by the walkable neighborhoods, we need to maintain our potential safety of the pedestrian. Not all the cables which are lying on the pipes which go over the pipes. And when they go down, and these are not very good pipes. Some initiative by the rural society citizens, they convert part of the street into car-free pedestrian park. And we are locally needed, and we got adequate clubs and enjoy walking safely in this beautiful place. And we need to be managed with care of the landscape. Green is along the traditional common development and the environment. Anand Park is a great play children and war citizens and relaxed citizens. This is by one of KRVIA, Amit who is the graduate president of the from me. And this was a very successful intervention. But many years back then, professional involvement and rich environments, they could compare the landscape practice with that of the net. Conservation of examples, the balance, the green are very important measures, and we need to progress and learn the under the longer like Greenland, the criteria from the need to protect citizen groups for the citizens. So we will exercise participation, improving the quality of life through small big steps. by involving them into the process of consultation and implementation and maintenance. Let's see the effect that it might have on quality of environment, quality of growth, and enjoy nature. And on the other hand, we have to deal with this issue of parking, maintaining the cities. The other which concerns us is the care for the sacred spaces. Somehow, early period of the modern era, we like the sacred spaces. And we need to see how they are integrated in community and the quality of design, the landscape design, the design all matters into developing a proper fit into the community. Need to adopt production at each level to involve a broad process on program of and development, education, research, and trust. We have been engaged worldwide debate, interaction, conversion, and conferences. We think globally, but act locally. We need to meditate and reflect on the issue and bring about personal transformation in all parts of the world. We always talk about change. We need to collaborate with individuals, institutions, universities, corporate participants. This is a strong mission and struggle for all who are involved in the process of real social transformation. One step at a time begins with taking care of own locality, their global community. Vision law is a good initiative to create awareness, build a city, and take rapid action. One needs to live in only with nature. Care for our pets and animals in our communities. Take care of the informal sector which provides livelihood and sustainable billions. It boils down to the quality of life. This bonding with nature is primarily considered. Sustainable habitats for our children and grandchildren. This is the first by partially exists with the children that living. It also talks about the concept of a kutumbakam. We belong to one family and we share one home, planet Earth. Last year's student was in Paribak in 2018. Let us call it to learn from each other, to conserve, develop sustainably, and enrich our future. Thank you.
So, we will take it part of the presentation. Like to call from KRVIA, present the case. It was like inclusivity, better corridors, based on that.
Yeah.
So I can read from React. We all come across things about safety, women's safety, and the crimes that happen against women. So that got me, and that is how I thought of with enhancing women's safety and inclusivity in corridors and output. So that's also my thesis title. So my thesis is to enhance safety and security around the stations. This is on creating an atmosphere that encourages women to use bedroom napkins with an object to identify and study the safety issues by women when walking around mass transit stations. So here in this case it is metro. Understand women's perception and experience of safety, and also to identify the positive as well as the negative aspect concerning safety and inclusivity.
So why I chose Nagpur is because if we compare the data from Define Records Bureau, that is in CRB, again, it's women in uh, metropolitan cities in Maharashtra. Nagpur is at peak if we compare it, if we see against Pune as well as Mumbai. And why I chose to work around metro because we had the modal share of the public as well as private type. Modal share of metro is the highest among the public transportation in Nagpur. So, to begin with, I chose to select two from Mumbai to compare and two uh, metro station. So from I chose Dinagar and Malad West. It is based on the census data, relation data, census was, as well as the floating population, which is an approximate number. And for in Nagpur, I chose to study C30, which is an interchange of two metro lines. So the difference is more. And another rate is Mara, where you could see a lot of groups of institutes. So the influx of women traveling is more in this rate. To begin with the study, based on literature that was done, there were four ideas that was studied. First one was build. Then the second one, mobility, visibility, and activity. There, under it, there were different parameters. One is building use. Then we had building heights, setbacks, active advantages, and then we had accessibility, we had compounders, education, and in mobility, we had the use of footpath, additional footpath is present, and the activity we had obviously the activity based on women as well as men, density of the patient that is there, and one aspect is lighting. So I compared based on the survey that was done for all stations. 30 women were interviewed and surveyed. So based on the data that was collected for all the sites, comparison was. And to add on to this, I also noted their paths. So if you see the red line, those are the paths taken by them. And so for all of them, the unsafe and spots were noted, and it was overlap. So for all the four studies, analysis was done. So based on all the parameters, there is some benchmark set by the factors or that was obtained the literature study. So if you see darkest green is the safest, and the darkest red is the most safe among all the four sites that were studied. So Sitapadi meditation site was in the most the darkest red, that's the most unsafe. So from that, second analysis was that, and then the basis of those four parameters, build, mobility, visibility, and activity, strategy are formulated. So, and those strategies implemented in 5 different zones where there was the overlap of all those women travelers and the unsafe words. So, in zone 1, which is at the bottom, so it was mostly done for business and mixed use was focused on in that zone. Then in another zone, there is a state, so there is another public plaza was proposed to activate the area, and similarly in another built was more in focus, and creating basically active advantages was some of the major aspects in most of the zones that interventions. Would you like to end here? Thank you.
KRVIA. Now, I would like to call Kirtida Lohar from KRVIA to present her thesis on community-led urbanism, a path to public health event in Aishwarya.
So my topic was integrated urban infrastructure, uh, public health improvement and westward move, right? So so why MS nowadays? MS is the most one of the one which has the many essential space and place, but we are analytically placing the Mumbai. So, there are stations, refineries, atomic centers, and also even lower being class of is mostly set in Westward. So the population of Westward is more than 8 lakh, but population being in formal settlement is only around 1 lakh. The rest is living in formal settlement. And whereas this factor is that the life expectancy of this world is only 9 years, whereas expected life expectancy is 67 years. So my study focused on improving the health of people in this world, improving the urban infrastructure. So for I chose few health tests which can improved in these. So for that, different all the health were categorized. Result of and they were categorized into two reasons, like which were related in urban planning and which not related to urban. And through this, I found out around 60% of the issues which are caused, which are causing bad health in the area are can be addressed through urban, developing urban structure. So, next, sorry. Next, I studied the MS Word, and it was divided into different parts, and I studied all the parts, analyzing the density, population, number of patients in each ward, each nagar of the ward. And through this, it was understood that most vulnerable is the one near dumping station, and followed by the Go area, and the least is the Anushakti Nagar, because it is multi land use, residential area, and also it is kind of hostel area for BARC department. So nextly, I for special analysis of two major numbers in the area. And in this special analysis, different parameters considered based on the existing land use, health infrastructure, sanitation facilities, water facilities, effect of pollution, and effect of higher outbreaks for flood prone areas, etc. So through this, I understood that like the existing situations and the expected situations have like a vast difference in it. That like example, open spaces for the population of more than 2 lakh, it should be around 300 hectares, but existing is only around 5 hectares. So different parameters were studied through this, and also I also studied that the tenements, the city of the tenements is also included in informal settle, which is obvious, but it was around 500 to 600 tenements per hectare. Thus, my solution was to bring in basic light and ventilation in the air, through which indoor air pollution can be reduced to some amount. The light and ventilation can also help in decrease the decrease the spreading the germs, and also health factors can improve through it. And also, like they are sloping roofs, so they don't have water storage facilities. So if the swing roofs are converted to flat, and like community can come together and have a water tank, maybe 2, 3 houses can have a common tank. So the water storage facilities can be incorporated in this. And import settlements do not have a very high literacy rate. So uh, government actually has to provide education facility, but till that time, maybe NGOs or social workers can help them understand of understand these parameters, and can help improve these conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirtina. Now I will call Shruti Tare from KRVIA to present her thesis on impact of built environment, pedestrian safety case of an industrial. I'm Shruti Tare, I'm leading the case on steps where I talk about pedestrian safety in an industrial setting. So in the pedestrian safety, pedestrian safety, the basic aim of the lead was to understand the impact of environment and on the adjacent physical environment, and subsequently shaping the law of safety. So, in understanding pedestrian safety in industrial setting, it is important to understand that it's not in a single way. Safety is very subjective, and it has to be understood in senses, physical and moral. So here I speak about sense of safety and physical safety. In physical safety, I study aspects such as the walkways, street sidewalks, crosswalks, all these. And whereas in sense of safety, it talks about people's experiences and how people feel about that space. So this thesis majorly focuses peri-urban area. So while understanding and reading the map region of Mumbai, it was identified that MMR region, sorry, that for KNCA, it was identified as a growth sector. So I decided that I'll focus on the area, and moving forward with the major aspects that were identified through my thesis was there was rapid urbanization which was happening in this peri-urban area. Almost the growth opportunities, there are growth opportunities, but there are also challenges happening due to this growth. So, I like to ask a question like,
are we designing cities to prioritize movement over safety, which is quite seen when I study those areas. So by focusing on, I zoomed in on Ambernath and Ulhasnagar area, majorly because they had good transportation facilities. These were dug as an industrial zones. Like almost 10% of the land use in these zones are industrial, so we can understand the level of but so I did it across three areas, one informal and two formal areas. One Mahadev Round being the informal and MIDC Ambernath, Sansai, MIDC Ambernath Moripli, two being better, but at the same time, due to their site location, there was a debate. So I studied them as two different areas. So it was done across 5 parameters. The study, the land use activity, visibility, surveillance, line, also the land use and mobility. So, what I observed was the infrastructure that is present there neglects the pedestrian. The safety measures are not there or absent. The vulnerable groups, mainly the people working here, walk to their work. Almost 79% of the population walks there. And the closest mobility point is near the highway or the railway station. So from there, the accessibility towards the site is based on walking. But though there is no such infrastructure to support such condition. And what has happened is there is segregation in terms of the land use, which has caused the industrial zones to remain and work isolatedly, and whereas residential works in their own zone. So it also creates a question like should industrial zones just be functional or they can be designed as a part to create a more active urban fabric. So it is also I also try and understand the major relationship between industrial and residential zones because I had it in my mind. Maybe I'm trying and make the zone more active with help of incorporating both areas together. As what is the major people who came there, it was either through transport or living in the surrounding area. Maybe we can try and incorporate these zones together. Why should these like work individually? As I've already on site also that the over segregation has caused the roads to be empty and the places not to be. So it also creates a question of how and do we consider perspective of someone walking these streets and so especially in industrial areas. So the case study finally I focused on one which was a common zone. I talked to the officials, it was an MIDC zone, and according to them, it was a very safe, there was nothing wrong with it. It is, they have good infrastructure and everything. But the main thing to understand about it was all the facilities were made for vehicles. It was not for the pedestrians. Yeah, there is connectivity. The roads are so great, so light, but there are trees. But when you go through the study, they said the main areas are the ones which are actually the vehicular roads. The trees are shaded, but it is used for street parking, like no dedicated guiding walk. And if it's there, it is not a regular good condition. So these are problems ever present here. So and especially in Anderson, what happens is post till the working hours are there, the air is lively. I would not say light, but it has it. But post like sound, there's literally hardly any people left there. So at night, it particularly creates an unsafe environment. So there was a disconnect between the surrounding areas, which were residential and the industrial zone. So, like, then I came in my presentation, I'm not focusing on what I what kind of work I do, but more of to what kind of things we can move forward and like how we can take this forward. So I'm not talking about my mission here. So what happens is industrials are more functional. They have a regular use in their mind, and so it's the question: how do we live with this segregation? Why design? Why we have our language plans? Industrial zones clearly marked. Obviously, some industrials need to be because they are success and all. But at the same time, a lot of them can be integrated to create more. We can have community life there because industrial zones also serve the residential world. So maybe we can think of uh, engaging, creating more space for them, public spaces to create a difference. So I went for with these parameters, thinking my infrastructure density, legibility, transport, activity, visibility, use illumination and gain. So taking all factor into consideration that for my design, I have a picture you can see that in my bag. Uh, So, but that does like us, I would think like how we treat these schools, not for industry, but for the people, like how can we really make them inclusive? Like,
You should. I request parents and participants begin with the current discussion.
Just, just looking at these presentations, the difficulty is that also okay, I'm sure I'm practically the difficulty has been the transition from zoning to design. And that transition has so many separate things and lifestyle that's sitting largely just a kind of idea. So what kind of that has happened since so long. When we design this thing, moving at such a situation of it has been the dilemma of the use, or the setting of the order for the use. So this thing, what could be ways that we could enter that kind of discussion of thinking of design? How do we enter that kind of scope? Something that we have tried are they 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 would like people using of this package be later open will open market. I think that open market is such an important it is a needed word in market. So it's a needed word for and market is very much of word right. Popular. So the orchestra is very real. I think the audit is structurally understanding of what we have and what we want to share. I think that is very important setup. That is, there is very stakeholder experts together. That I think move towards. The other thing is like seeing the fact that how should locate themselves. Same security. So if child is able to walk across one to see across the street and be able to go to a hospital, are into kind of I would say dissections of the all established city. So I'm just looking and thinking about methods that we can probably begin to flow both in academia and actors as ways of how to engage with this question of how we make inclusive. What does it mean? It means different for different kind of studies and situations. Then I think primarily, the audit can be 3 point, and it can be making this taking away from the rest.
Thank you, John, for going into the details of the process. That brings us to this view of methodology. We do depend so much on planning techniques, attention, zoning, and even the issue of moving from zoning to design. Has been quite a still for discipline for design. We all its own method. And kind of academic program that the university recommends and also the schools follow. Run short of reaching out to these concerns about the qualitative aspect of the subject itself. Like, for example, what are the ways to enhance urbanity of a place? Let's see about livability. How to measure sustainability of it? How do we keep it vibrant? And some of the tools we will use to gather the data, analyze the data, and come back. We need to experiment on. So always I ask myself, how was it possible for not so urban, this question mark, people, men and carpenters and mysteries, and their clients shape this fantastic regional architecture across India. You may see it in Kerala, you may see it in Karnataka or Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan. They have very distinctive character and the cities and settlements. So the tools they use, how could they evolve this? And what we can learn, the professionals in this field, to innovate and create tools for our time, with the future. We need to address this very, very critically.
I think, so taking from what George is saying and what you are saying, I think the urban is complex. And very often, as urban designers, if you don't engage with the place, it kind of you think you have knowledge of the place and the people, and you kind of do you heart of hearts want to do the top approach, you end up becoming a designer who kind of imposes something on the urban. So I think yes, we need to think critically and we need to understand newer ways in which kind of engage so that it's more inclusive. Like when they were presenting about this industrial area and one of the things mentioned was sale. Okay, when you actually look at the industrial area, automatically looking at factory buildings which are large and automatically the scale of people walking down the block because the industrial area would require larger blocks, the scale gets to become an issue. So there comes more ability leads to motorized means of transport and pedestrian. I think several issues, of course, we have to get down to the details of it. We look at possibilities of addressing these issues. I don't think there's one kind of answer. I think as observers, we have to look at it very carefully and not get easily into a solution before we understand context.
So, to take this further, I didn't find any reference to very theoretical concepts in this presentation. You didn't mention the books or the name of urban designers or other thinkers to support your argument. This is my observation. I might have missed it, but this is my observation. Right? Is it true just because say so? That's the kind of approach that we tend to follow. So, yeah, all of you must have read the Image of the City and Kevin Lynch. But I don't know how many of you have read his other book. What is from City Form or something?
Yes.
Yeah. For example, Christopher Alexander, his method is very, very interesting and very different from the kind of ways we were learning about architecture and urban design earlier. His new urban design. I don't know how many of you have read that. Well, there was no mention. And while we are in our own place, there is no mention whatsoever about Aboriginal literature. In any book, say in Hindi or Gujarati or others, about this issues and subjects. To our school heroes reference. For example, have a book called Guru Vidya, written by one of the engineers, Bhavnagar, back in 1927 or so, in Gujarati, and which was a complete guide on what to do, how to do it, and in his way. It enabled the whole city to adopt this guideline. It enabled the city to understand, and they could develop the skill of being as a city of. There are books on Shastra, but on the subjects, do you have original literature? If not, are we able to create one? We need to ask this question. Like one of my provocation is this. All of us are using these terms. Mostly without question. So we are talking about earlier there was the British administrations, and we didn't use the term so. They used to use the term towns and cities. So they used to have course called Town and Country Plan. They used to write books, city design. So when say urban design, what is the difference and what we read into? we don't question, but there is a kind of political war, there is a kind of economics involved. We look into that. So there is a whole work by Constantino Doxiadis, and he evolved the science of humanity and he called it equistics. The terminology is based on Greek. What happened in India then? What terms and methods we were using to describe our cities and design our cities? So if we are not able to use our own cultural and language resources, how do you really think differently? So we have to put it very well, rural and urban. Or put it more complex, you have a tribal. And you have nomads to make it more complex, but rural and urban, what next? Will it be called only? Or should we call it differently? So Dr. just talked about the metropolis and megapolis and the equivalent of policy, things like that. So what is the differences? So can we use our own resource, our own language, our own culture to evolve this? At least we should ask the question rather than just adopting.
The discourse obviously, but since you said that there was no mention of any theories in her presentation, I wanted to ask you, is her thesis itself a theory, her theory on beginning book? I mean,
I didn't get you.
She's saying that you think that there is no theory which is basing her argument.
Supporting.
Yes, supporting her. So isn't it new knowledge in some sense?
her thesis, like,
Her thesis is producing the new knowledge. That's what she means.
That is what we imagine is new. Like we can have another star to find out how new it is. See, I'm challenging, right? We question ourselves. We call God all in all perfect. If we lose ability to question ourselves, we lose the ability to grow and develop. I will be very happy with you. I didn't find much to put it very clear.
Like to answer. Science is evolving, knowledge is evolving. There's nothing new as such. Whenever the no license is being offered, that is based on the basis. So first thing what we have to understand is when we launch something new, what we call new, the new will have obviously foundation, a base. So unless you are aware of base, you will not be able to go further. Or in other words, whenever we do something, if you have, like for example, what kids do in a course, when they come up with an argument, they try to get a support for the existing argument, existing thing the court has applied. It's the knowledge of that particular person that brings in or makes to be. So a research post made or a research what you call hypothesis and protocols should always be supported by authors. Something which is very important to us to understand. So that answers. Now, as far as this particular discussion is important, I was just looking at observing this. I have observed earlier also in other schools. You know that climate is there. We are going to face immense issue related to climate change. If we had a topic on Brazilian, but climate change is a major issue that faces human beings. Urbanization, challenge of urbanization, challenges of technology that has been introduced. But let me tell you very frankly, I don't find many of those cultures or theses the emerging topic in there. They're comfortable in digging up things from the past and preparing a thesis. If you're really interested, if you're really interested, you should really teach upon these new things that is evolving. You have to take it that way. So I was mentioning about Kevin Lynch. Kevin Lynch was, godfather in 1970s. After that, several things have happened in the field. Some new thought process happened. Let me ask you very frankly, how many of you read? Please remember, how many of you sincerely? This is a proxy 2 out of 50 sitting here. 40 sitting here.
What do you think?
How many of you the daily newspapers? Please raise your hand. You might have not seen a newspaper in the recent time.
We set out for the every paper has a
So as architects, it's a social engineer. Architects are basically social engineers. I've got to understand social engineering. We are involved in that.
I'm really amazed with words because I'm a social scientist. And I've been telling my colleagues that please refrain from using that word social engineering because it's like it sounds like brainwashing.
No, it's not question. All ideas are all discussed. So the whole idea of urban dialogue is that. So what I mean to say is, this reading makes a lot of difference, thought process. It processes. I was writing notes when I was speaking in Chinese. I'm very frankly, I got several things from what photos and I'm writing from each of your presentation. I was just required. I'll tell you a simple thing what I wrote. Written here is, rickshaws. Kerala, rickshaws are quite abundant enough. Many times, rickshaws, they do have small space in the system. When she was speaking about safety and security, it's a live eyes cameras, which is sitting just in every junction. And whenever there's an accident happening, whenever there is a problem happening, these people who really, come out and intervene and help. And how to special training to handle this type of situation. Okay. Those are the real interests we have in place. And the rickshaws, for example, we have to come. How important is this movement in economy? How important is this movement in health? How important is this movement in many of these things that we are speaking in that? And this movement makes a difference. You have got a system, a convenient system, which can be used by the city to move, in nodes. And we don't have a system in place, design system base. How much time we have thought of integrating this rickshaw movement with the city as an essential thing which aid the development. This is something which is interesting. There are immense possibilities and opportunities in and around the city if you start serving. And these things will not, it comes to this type of time. I'm just writing you, I have put 5 points here for me to work, which I have gathered from this place today. Yes. So I think that everybody should have takeaways whenever type of things happen. And sincerely, what you call, continue that also. It's not as that happened today and going back to sleep. It's not. That's written in my note. I want to take it and I'll tell you what I have to do after this. So this process is very important. So reading, when I come, many a time what happens is that when you read something, especially the editorial of the newspaper, there's a lot of effort into that to write editorial. It's not socialist, right? So this type of reading, coming back to the studio, discussing about these things, putting up certain things, maybe right, wrong, or your observation, what it is. Once you pin it up on your table or in the space that is being put, if that can generate a discussion, telling you this type of brainstorming is which is not to be us forward. But it really happens. If it happens, it's fine. We are all trying to this word. I'm not saying that's not good. Good. Things like that. But we should be also connecting this to what I'm making. If you look at the use of it, that makes a lot of sense.
Brilliant. I think. So that marks the end of the session. I would like to Dr. Binti Singh of research at KRVIA to offer a small token of appreciation to our panel. You have to take a
Yes.
yes.
You, sir, for your time and contribution. Very good. Thank you.
Together, like we just close.
Yeah, that. Oh, right, that's it.
You get the bag.
Yeah.
It is coming. Light is coming this side. Yeah.
So,
It's okay. Thank you. Yeah.
thank you, all of you. For this session and
Yeah. Yeah. Send me books. Yeah. Definitely.
I would like Professor Easy Lewis, teach the postgraduate department at KRVIA to offer multiple appreciation to the party.
There. That
Ankush Chaudhary,
Right. Good. Thanks for coming all the way from Pune.
Nisha Arya,
Yes, Lal.
Mrunal Raj,
You after school.
I was not also. There's lunch for all the presenters as well. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Suchi Tare.
It's for your work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're the best. Yes. Job definitely.
It is my honor to be the voter and on behalf of KRVIA postgraduate program. Firstly, heartfelt gratitude to our thanks Dr. Manoj, Kini, Aishwarya, Tipnis, and Akhtar Chauhan for their insight and passion and thought-provoking presentation. Your contribution truly set the tone for exploring sustainable and inclusive urban. I also wish to express congratulations to participants for the dedication of people who work on you have exemplified understanding and thinking to today and again. I look forward. I should help that future endeavors and trust their contributions will continue to make a meaningful impact. The seamless execution of this event would not be possible without the help of the students of the program. Ika, Shisha, Ashish, Mike, Pranav, Ika, and faculty staff, Taman, Vishka, Kalpesh. Thank you for our audience and enthusiastic participation in the event. Places is more wide and meaningful. With that, I wish everyone a wonderful day and look forward to continuing this important dialogue with you. Thank you.